Have you ever heard how easy it is to make 10k a month? Whether that's pounds or dollars? Because I have. In this day and age, if you're not making 10k a month, you're incompetent, you don't know what you're doing, and you're a failure. But that is so far from the truth, it's unbelievable. I will hold my hand up. I do not make 10k a month. I don't. I own my own business. It's called Mergs. We sell weightlifting and CrossFit equipment. I've sold about £800,000 worth of stuff in the last 7 years. I've been full-time for 2. So I'm trying. I'm trying my best. Would I like to make 10k a month? Yes. Obviously. But it's not that easy. So 10k a month. 120,000 a year. We're going to use pounds because I'm from the UK. £120,000 a year. The average wage in the UK is £35,000. And even that figure gets dragged up by some of the CEOs, like the chap at AstraZeneca, who makes £16,850,000. Is he worth that amount of money? Yeah, probably. It probably is. Because if you look at it on paper, he probably brings in the company an extra 100 million in profit. Yeah, fine, you get your split. I'm not against people making tons and tons of money. I'm just not for people making out that it's so easy, because it's not. So let's just have a look at some popular businesses to see how they're doing, see what their profits are, and see what their business looks like. So let's have a look at Gymshark. Founded and owned by Ben Francis, who is now a billionaire, which means you own an asset worth more than $1 billion. It's rare. People tend to think you've got that in the bank. Not the case, but you own something worth $1 billion, and you could in theory have that in the bank if you so chose. Ben and his friend Lewis started Gymshark back in 2011, and this year it turned over £550 million in sales. And out of that, there was 13 million of profit. That, in the world of business, is minuscule. You might think, 13 million, that's a bit of profit. Not compared to 550. Some of the lowest profit industries are people like supermarkets, and they made 2%. They make about 2%, roughly. Gymshark made 2.3% profit. Don't get me wrong, that's after tax, that's their filed number, that's what they pay corporation tax on. So they will have spent some money on expansion, on a retail store, on other things, a bit of the Amazon model. They'll have pumped a bit in, but we can't work with those numbers because we don't know them, so we'll have to use all we've given. In business, there's 2 types of profit, sort of. Gross profit, which is the biggest number. You get the cost of the item and then the sale price. So if you sell an item for £100 and it costs you 20, the gross profit is 80 or 80%. Your net profit is the figure after you've paid for wages and employees, warehousing, software, all these other costs that add up, all of those. And that's how you get from an £80 theoretical profit all the way down to like 5, and even £5 on 100. So when you look at Gymshark's numbers versus that £100 example, if they were set out to make £80 on 100, they actually make £2.30. 2.3% of 100, which is just crazy. So yeah, supermarkets tend to do around 2%, and then followed by even things like restaurants. They do 3 to 5% profit, which is a remarkably low number just due to the number of high expenses. The opposite of that is software and digital goods. The reason being, you make them once, and yes, there's an expense up front and an outlay of cost or time, mainly cost, we'll put it as cost. But then once you've made the product, you can sell it as many times as you want. If I were selling you a £500 course on how I don't make 10k a month and how not to, I would spend the time, be about 15 minutes, making the course, but once you've made it, you can then sell it for as many times as you like. Often that's the tactic employed by a lot of major YouTubers. They will sell you a digital product because they've made it. And their marketing is the purest form of content marketing, and it's the videos they put out. That's it. One of the best people for content marketing is CarWow. They just do drag races, but in and amongst it's come and sell your car or buy a car through CarWow. And that's the exact same thing with major YouTubers like Ali Abdaal. He will sell you a course because he gives you some value. But at the same time, unless he's spending any money on marketing, which is probably very little, but he will have expenses, he runs a business, I get that. But if he sells you a course for £1,000 and he sells 10 for 10 grand or 1,000 for $1 million, then he still only had to outlay that cost once. Okay, maybe have some customer support and there's a few bits and bats. But compared to physical goods, digital products are a ton completely different world. If you look at the top most valuable companies, there are a lot of software. Google, Apple, Microsoft, even Amazon. A lot of people know Amazon for the consumer side of the business. Amazon do a lot of web hosting. Amazon hosts some of the biggest websites on earth, like Reddit. And when you put it like that, you think, wow, you guys are in the software game to subsidize your ventures that don't make much profit. The only reason Amazon Video is still here is because it drives customers to other Amazon products. And then two other interesting ones like Nvidia and TSMC. They're both in the game of making physical products, but in an industry driven by software that's in such demand at the minute, they can't literally produce enough chips for people. So yes, it's not technically software, because that was more of a digital example, but they're still in the game of serving software. In the gold rush, they're selling shovels, they're not digging for anything. Would I like to make 10,000 a month? Silly question, of course I would. We all would. But when you weigh it up and do the maths gets silly. So say we sell a pair of knee sleeves for £60, right? Say £10 of that is net profit after everything, after VAT, after the product cost, after warehousing and shipping and marketing. It's £10 on 60. That works out to 17% profit margin. That is known as remarkably good. That's fantastic. That's more than Nike, Adidas, and even Under Armour. So that is a huge figure. But out of that £10, we'd have to sell 1,000 pairs of knee sleeves to make £10,000 in profit every month. But don't forget, a business can't survive without profit. Profit is what drives expansion. If you didn't make any profit, you'd only be able to cover your costs and then make the sale again for no profit. So you've got to have profit in a business. So back to the maths. We've sold 1,000 pairs of knee sleeves and we've made £10 profit on each. That's £10,000. So let's be aggressive and say that I'm quite greedy and I love money. So I'm going to take 5,000 of that for myself. And 5,000 stays in for the business to grow. Right, so we're now halfway there to our goal. You double it, you need to sell 2,000 pairs of knee sleeves every month. That's 2.4 million a year in sales. And that's only with me taking half the profits. That is a crazy number. Can you do 2.4 million on your own? Because at that point, you might want employees. All of a sudden, there's somebody else that needs £3,000 a month. All of a sudden, these expenses just increase slowly. Obviously, your fulfillment's going to be larger. Like, let's assume all these costs scale up, but you might need to add people. You get to a point where you think, wow, making 10k a month in profit that's take home out of a business is really substantial. So can it be done? Yes, it can be done. Is it easy? Absolutely not. It is remarkably challenging. It is so challenging, it's unbelievable. Are you an idiot for not making £10,000 a month like everybody seems to say on social media? No, absolutely not. That's like Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift saying you're a muppet because you can't sing in front of 100,000 people. No, what they do is remarkable and they're normalised to it. So don't believe the BS. It's a load of bollocks and it's really painful to keep hearing it and think, there's so many people out there that will be feeling worse about themselves due to these fake, unrealistic, pretend standards. We should be normalising the success of starting a business. The amount of money you make should not be tied to your self-worth, but for too many people these days, it is. And it's really hard when I see that. Starting a business to make 10k a month is like starting running because you want to be in the Olympics. Can it be done? Yes. But listening to Usain Bolt say it's easy, just got to run faster, that's not helpful. I promise. It's not at all. Anyway, this was just a reminder to ignore the BS that you see online. Just try your best. And even then, sometimes people say, try your best, but maybe that's not good enough. So you've got to do what it takes. At what point is the sacrifice worth it? Like, I once saw Alex Hormozi say, sometimes you've got to make sacrifices. Maybe you don't go to your kid's baseball game because you've got to work. I can't think of anything worse in life than missing out on your kids growing up for the sake of a bit more money. The man was at one point making $1 million a month in take-home pay. You couldn't have the evening off. I'm even a big believer in if you can't afford the time off, are you even doing a good job? The man who did Moonpig, which in the UK that'll make sense, I don't know if it's a global brand, but they'd send out personalised greetings cards or birthday cards. And the guy was like, if I can't be successful just working a 40-hour week, then this isn't for me. And I've always loved that mentality. Yes, you've got to work hard. Yes, you've got to really put a graft in and it's mentally challenging, but you shouldn't have to work 100 hours a week for it to work. If that's the case, I'm of the opinion you're not doing a great job. And at the same time, what is life without family and friends? So just bear that in mind. Anyway, I'm going to get back to work. I think you should too. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, subscribe. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That'd be great. You know, if we don't hit it, I'm not going to cry. But if we do, that'd be lovely. Anyway, have a great day. I'll see you soon.